Post-transplant is a complete no-no before 21 years of age.
How does one potential candidate for hair transplant decide about which doctor or which clinic to choose?
They are not freelancers going here and there. Then they should also try to find out whether the clinic supports them in long term. With a psychological point of view, it is very important that the doctor should understand what the patient is thinking, how much the hair loss is a problem for him.
Many people are scared about the risks and the complication, and we know that there have been some complications.
The most important thing is that it is one of the safest surgeries and you should be very relaxed.
So friends, in our series of educational videos about hair loss and hair transplant, today we are going to discuss about the planning of hair transplant. How important it is to know about these facts and to know about how you can plan your hair transplant. We are joined by Dr. Preeti, who is an American board certified hair transplant surgeon, and she has been performing these procedures for around a decade now. So welcome, Dr. Preeti,
Thank you.
on this very important and informative session or a podcast about how people should plan out their hair transplant. So here we are going to discuss about these important points. So the first question is that how does a person know that he is a good candidate for hair transplant? So whom would you say are good candidates and whom would you say are not so good or average or poor candidates for hair transplant?
So whether somebody is a good candidate for hair transplant or not is decided by a number of factors.
Right.
Not just one factor, but at least 2, 3, 4 factors. A very important factor is age of the patient. Then comes whether the patient has taken any medical treatment or not before he or she is mainly
for a hair transplant.
Opting for a hair transplant. Then other thing is with the consultation of the doctor, they will decide that doctor will also give the input whether hair transplant is needed by the patient or not. So this means the patient should have realistic expectations and they should have bald areas actually which need hair transplant. So in a way, patient and doctor together with the consultation, they can find out whether hair transplant is needed, and if yes, how many grafts are needed.
So it has to be a decision based on a consensual decision about based on all these factors. So when you say about age, what are your thoughts about the age at which the hair transplant can be done?
So hair transplant is a complete no-no before 21 years of age.
Okay.
Having said that, there have been a few cases where transplant was done before 21 because the patient was extremely mentally upset and maybe having suicidal tendencies, but then these are exceptions. Mainly, patients should be above 21, 22 years of age. They should have significant hair loss such that they are feeling very depressed or they want hair transplant to be done because they want to change their look. They want to have a hair combing appearance on the bald areas, on the scalp.
So when you say like 21, 22, what is the age? Why we wait for this and we do not go for a hair transplant in general before this age, less than 22? Or
yes,
21?
because the hair loss is an ongoing process. So if the hair loss in a person is not mature, if it is not taken care of before we do the hair transplant, the patient will keep on losing more and more hair and eventually will land up in grade 7 and we will not be able to decide a mature hairline for the patient and to in fact, a long-term planning and commitment towards medical treatment is something we should be clear about and we should talk to the patient before we plan a hair transplant.
Yeah, so this is very, very important because many people in their early age, like 21, 22, 23, come and want a very low hairline and which is going to look very bad in future if they have a continuous hair loss. So if you are planning for hair transplant, you have to see whether you are committed to a medical treatment or not. And going for a hair transplant at an early age can have very disastrous consequences in very long run because this is something which is irreversible and it's a point of no return. So we have to be very cautious in deciding when you actually should be going for a hair transplant. Thank you for this. So now coming to another important thing is what are the different types of hair transplant procedures available and how does one choose about it?
So the main types of hair transplant procedures which are known to everyone is FUE, in which we use a magnification device and we cherry pick the good follicles from behind. So it is follicular unit excision, and FUT, in which it is a linear strip method. So we take a strip of scalp from behind, from the safe donor area, and then we stitch the upper and lower parts in a trichophytic closure manner so that the scar is very minimal and the hair come out of it so that it is even less visible. Then these two are the main methods which are used for harvesting the grafts.
Right. And how does one choose about which one is good for, or is it like something that nowadays FUE is more common?
So yes, FUE has a shorter learning curve. So I think because of that, a number of clinics have sprung up all over doing the FUE procedure. But in my view, FUT and FUE both are good procedures, and the patient should in fact take the information from the doctor about which procedure would help him more. Right. Sometimes we try to combine both when the grade is higher and we need more graft than what is there at the safe donor area. So it should be doctor-patient consultation
and a decision based.
Yes.
Now, before actually going to the planning part, how does one potential candidate for hair transplant decide about which doctor or which clinic to choose?
It is a very important question because we should know which doctor or clinic we should choose. First of all, we should see the credentials of the doctor. What are the qualifications of the doctor? Then we should see for the testimonials of patients who have undergone hair transplant from that clinic. Then we should also have a look at the staff there, whether they have a team which is with them for a long period of time. They are properly skilled. They know their work. They are not freelancers going here and there. Then they should also try to find out whether the clinic supports them in long term. They give them a long-term planning and treatment, and there is a good hand-holding after the procedure. They give their phone numbers. They're there to help them
later on,
post-procedure. So these are a few very important tips which the patient should know before they choose the doctor.
Or the clinic. Yeah.
Or the clinic, yes.
So when a patient goes to a doctor, what should a patient expect from the doctor, hair transplant surgeon, in that consultation which they have with the doctor?
See, talking of a patient with a doctor, in the first consultation, it's a very important psychological, with a psychological point of view, it is very important that the doctor should understand what the patient is thinking, how much the hair loss is a problem for him, what are his expectations with the procedure, how much is the patient committed to the medical treatment after the procedure, and many such things which they will discover when they talk to each other. So the patient should know that the doctor is giving him a long-term planning for his hair loss and not just hair transplant. Hair transplant is a part of the problem the patient will be facing for a long time, and actually I feel it is right to say that the patient wants to have good hair, and for it the doctor may help by medicine, by PRP treatments, by hair transplant, and the patient should understand that yes, transplant will help me in this part of my journey, and later I'll have to take care by these methods.
Right. You can click on the link above to know about best hair transplant clinics in India and Turkey and how to choose the best clinic for you if you are planning your hair transplant from these countries. Now coming to the next question here is, how should a patient plan for his hair transplant surgery per se? When he is going for a hair transplant, what all precautions or preparations a patient should make before actually undergoing a hair transplant surgery?
So suppose I am to undergo hair transplant surgery, I should take a leave from my office for say 3 days to 7 days, right? Because in 10% of the patients they may have frontal swelling. So if this happens, it particularly happens after 48 hours and may last for 2 to 3 days. So 3 to 7 days is fine. If I have an option like many have to work from home, then it's even better. Apart from that, the patient should take light food
on the day of the
night before, and they should be relaxed. The most important thing is that it is one of the safest surgeries, and you should be very relaxed on the day of your procedure. Then when they come to the clinic, they should have good heavy breakfast. And because it is being done in a local anesthesia, they are talking to the doctor and the team, and they feel if they feel drowsy, they can sleep in between. So they should be properly hydrated as well. So the major preparation is you should be relaxed and hydrated and well fed on the day of the
And you can shampoo your hairs before the
Yes,
procedure
yes.
also.
So
Okay, and many people are scared about the risks and the complication, and we know that there have been some complications when the procedure was performed in a beauty salon or due to various reasons if the patient had a medical problem. So what are the risks and complications which people actually generally ask before actually undergoing a hair transplant procedure?
So as you just mentioned that the complications were mainly at those places where it was a salon or the people performing hair transplant were not qualified enough. So if we are coming for hair transplant to a proper clinic with a good doctor who is expert in his field and they have good reputation for the procedure, then the patient should feel confident enough, because the occurrence of side effect is very rare. Like infection is very rare in hair transplant. Sometimes they may have swelling, which is physiological, which may happen to anyone. And the frontal swelling, sometimes it comes to the eyes also. So people are a bit worried.
Scared, yeah.
But then it always goes by itself. It doesn't stay. And as such, I don't feel there is much to worry about. But
Yeah, so we have a detailed video on our channel about the risks and complications in hair transplant surgery, and you can click on the link above to know more about these risks and complications so that you have more knowledge and you can get to discuss these problems with your treating doctor. Okay, now coming to the last part of this talk is what happens. People generally want to know, because it's a new thing for them, what actually happens on the day when the hair transplant procedure actually takes place.
So they come in the morning at the time which is allotted for them. We always ask them to come with a heavy breakfast, well hydrated, as I just said, relaxed. When they come, they give their consent. I mean, before any procedure, we have to take the consent. Then we take them to the marking room where we mark their hairline. It's a very important step because people should be happy with the hairline, which is
They are choosing.
They choose it with a mutual consent of the doctor and the patient. The hairline is made, and then the whatever antibiotics or any other medicine, painkillers and all, local anesthesia, which is to be given during the day, it is first tested that they are not allergic to it. So after this initial testing, we many a times do the shaving as it is required, whether it is step trimming or full shaving, whatever the doctor decides for them. After that, we take them for the procedure.
And then the procedure typically starts, which has multiple steps in it.
Yeah, so the steps, just to name the steps, we do the slit making first, because we do a pre-made slit so that the out-of-body time of the grafts is not increased.
Very high.
So we are able to take out the grafts and then put them back quickly to decrease any ischemia or any damage to the grafts. So after we make the slits, then we ask the patient to lie in the head down position, on prone position, and we take out the grafts from the safe donor area. In between also, if they want any break, lunch break, tea break, whatever, they can have it as and when required. Later on, when they lie down straight, they are relaxed. Along with our team, we put the grafts in the pre-made slits. Later on, when the procedure is complete, we bandage the area at the back, donor side, and then we tell them all the precautions, not to bang their head, just to take care that they do not put any trauma to the graft.
Yeah. So how long does a hair transplant procedure typically takes for people who want to know about this?
So it depends on the number of grafts. The preparation time is the same for every procedure. It's 1 to 1.5 hours. Then if the procedure is 2,500 grafts, it may last till 4 to 6 hours. Otherwise, if it is more, it may last to 6 to 8 hours, and sometimes 2 days also.
Yeah, so I think that's good enough for today, and we will be continuing this particular podcast about planning a hair transplant, especially about post-procedure precautions and what you can expect with the timelines after the hair transplant. what happens, what all care you should take, precautions, and when the shedding phase starts and stops, and what kind of growth you can expect at different periods of time. Thank you, Dr. Preeti. We'll be continuing this particular discussion on this topic in detail later on also.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
If you want to see results of one of our hair transplant patient, you can click the video on the left. And if you want to know more about hair loss and home remedies for hair loss, you can click the video on the right.